The Nile War was never truly over. It just went silent. But this week, the river spoke again, and Sisi answered.
Ethiopia كما تحفظ مصالح دولتي المصر.
Way good fan, welcome to Semonigna Spotlight, your front row seat to the Horn of Africa's power plays, hidden wars, and untold truths. Tonight, the world's most dangerous river conflict surges back to life. Sisi reactivated. The Nile War returns. Cairo is beating the war drums again. Trump is redrawing the equation, and Ethiopia, calm but unyielding, holds the flow and the future in its hands.
Sisi reactivated. The Nile War returns. Speaking at the 8th Cairo Water Week, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi turned what was supposed to be a technical water forum into a declaration of confrontation. Egypt will not stand idly by in the face of Ethiopia's irresponsible approach, he thundered. We will take all necessary measures to protect Egypt's water security. The language was vintage Sisi, the same chest-beating tone of 2020 reborn in 2025. But this time it came with an accusation that Ethiopia's undisciplined dam management caused an artificial flood downstream. For Cairo, that phrase, artificial flood, is the trigger word for escalation. Reports of water security drills in Sinai have only fueled the speculation that Egypt might once again be flirting with military options. The GERD. After the inauguration, a different battlefield. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is now complete, generating power and feeding the grid. Addis Ababa is no longer negotiating from hope, it's negotiating from control. The dream is now a structure, 145 meters of concrete holding back the Blue Nile. Every turbine that spins is a reminder. Ethiopia commands the source, not the mouth. And that changes everything. Because Egypt's old threat, "We'll stop it before it's finished," is now meaningless. Sisi's real motive, from Gaza to the GERD. Until recently, Cairo's attention was trapped by the Gaza crisis. Trump's peace framework had quietly tied U.S. mediation on the GERD to Egypt's cooperation on Gaza resettlement. Sisi resisted, and as that deal dissolved, Egypt's political spotlight swiveled back to the Nile. Now freed from American pressure on Gaza, Sisi is repackaging the GERD as a new national emergency, a unifying banner for a restless population. Domestic anger, inflation, currency collapse, and suddenly, the Nile is back on Egyptian TV screens. The Trump factor, old game, new rules. No GERD story is complete without the voice that just won't fade, Donald Trump. Since his first term, Trump has repeatedly thrown gasoline on the Nile debate. He once told reporters they built a little dam in Ethiopia, the biggest in the world, and it's a big problem for Egypt. Another time, he bragged that the dam was largely built with American money, a claim both absurd and revealing. Trump kept returning to it again and again as if Ethiopia's dam were a personal slight. Now, with his campaign back in full swing, his advisors are trying to reshape the narrative. Trump's new foreign policy point man for Africa and the Middle East, Masad Boulos, says Washington no longer sees the GERD as a political standoff, but as a technical challenge. The dam is a reality now, Boulos told Al Arabiya. It must be solved technically, not politically. That's Washington's new idea, not to stop the GERD, but to manage it, flow by flow, data by data. In other words, Trump's old threat diplomacy has evolved into technical containment. But can Cairo accept that? Can Sisi live in a world where Ethiopia holds the valve and the world calls it normal? The technical solution. What does it really mean? The technical solution is diplomatic code for real-time cooperation, data sharing, joint monitoring, and seasonal coordination. It means Ethiopia keeps sovereignty, Egypt gains predictability. But Cairo wants more: a binding treaty, a leash on the dam. Addis, burned by history, won't sign anything that repeats the old colonial trap. The stalemate holds: physics versus politics, river versus rhetoric. Ethiopia's new confidence, watching the waters. Ethiopia's confidence today doesn't come from missiles or fighter jets. It comes from the dam itself. From satellites that watch every cloudburst to hydrological sensors that track the Nile minute by minute, Ethiopia now reads the river like a language. Addis Ababa no longer fears Egyptian jets. It fears misinformation. So it built its defense not in the sky, but in data, in transparency, and in the quiet power of control. When the Blue Nile roars, it roars in Amharic, not Arabic. Is Egypt really ready for war? Even with all its rhetoric, Egypt's capacity for war is thin. Its economy is bleeding, its army is stretched, and any strike on the Gird would make Cairo an international pariah overnight. Sisi's loudest weapon isn't his air force, it's the microphone. He's gambling that by shouting loud enough, Trump will step in and pressure Addis Ababa to compromise. But Ethiopia has heard this echo before, and this time it's standing firm. Dam gates open, turbines spinning, and diplomacy anchored in patience. Ethiopia's shield: law, power, and patience. Ethiopia's government dismissed Cairo's latest outburst as colonial nostalgia, reminding the world that the Nile belongs to all basin nations, not to one capital downstream. The Gird is now a continental enterprise, powering hope from Addis to Nairobi, Khartoum to Djibouti. An attack on it wouldn't just be war on Ethiopia, it would be war on Africa's future. So here we are again. Egypt's threats grow louder, the Nile flows steadier, and the dam hums on. Sisi says all options are on the table. But in a world where the GERD already stands tall, what options really remain? Will Cairo risk everything to chase the river upstream, or will it finally learn to share the flow? We'll be watching, because the Nile never sleeps, and neither do we. This has been Semonigna Spotlight, where power meets prophecy in the Horn of Africa.